For nearly 2 decades, Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban were the couple the world desperately wanted to believe in. A Hollywood legend and a country superstar. Glamour and guitar strings. 2 broken souls who found each other and, against every odd, held on. But in the fall of 2025, the illusion they had so carefully built together came crashing down, and what came pouring out from behind it was more painful, more complicated, and more revealing than anyone expected. This is not just a story about a divorce. This is the story of a woman who finally stopped protecting a man who had already walked away. They met in 2005 at the Day USA Gala in Los Angeles, a celebration of Australian talent abroad. Nicole was at the height of her reemergence, glowing, powerful, and quietly carrying wounds from her painful divorce from Tom Cruise. Keith Urban, a rising country star battling his own private demons, was drawn to her immediately. What followed wasn't a whirlwind. It was slow and careful. Keith later admitted he was so intimidated by her presence that it took him months to even call after that first meeting. When he finally did, they fell hard and fast. By June 2006, they stood before their closest family and friends at a candlelit ceremony at Cardinal William Brennan in Sydney, exchanging vows in a wedding described as deeply intimate and emotional. The world looked on and exhaled. Here, at last, was proof that love could survive Hollywood. But fairy tales, as Nicole would one day learn again, rarely survive reality. Just 4 months after their wedding, Keith Urban checked himself into rehabilitation for alcohol addiction. Nicole, who had been fighting to save the marriage, didn't walk away. She visited him in treatment, shielded him from headlines, and told those close to her that love meant standing firm even when it was hard. For a woman who had already lost a family once, her 2 adopted children with Tom Cruise had grown distant after that divorce. Walking away from Keith was never a real option. She stayed, and for years, she carried that decision with a kind of quiet dignity that the public admired and the tabloids romanticized. They welcomed their first daughter, Sunday Rose, in 2008, and a second, Faith Margaret, in 2010. At awards shows and red carpets, Keith would thank her with his voice breaking, calling her his saving grace. She would smile, composed and radiant, and the world would sigh. They were, everyone agreed, the real thing. What insiders now confirm is that somewhere along the way, the love story became a performance. Sources close to the couple said their separation really hadn't been a secret, and the stars had been living separately for a while. The distance had been growing for years. His long tours, her demanding film schedule, and the emotional labor of keeping a marriage polished enough for public consumption began taking a toll that no amount of red carpet hand-holding could paper over. Nicole was, by all accounts, the one doing most of the holding together. She was the anchor. He was the storm. And even the most devoted anchors eventually tire of being pulled under. By 2024, the cracks were undeniable. Multiple insiders confirmed that Kidman had been holding the family together through this difficult time since Keith has been gone, suggesting the emotional separation had begun well before any official announcement. A source told people that Nicole didn't want this and had been fighting to save the marriage. She manifested love publicly, told interviewers she was lucky to have him, and posted an anniversary tribute as recently as June 2025. A photo of the 2 of them in a dressing room, her head resting on his shoulder. "Happy anniversary, baby," she captioned it. It would be one of the last times she spoke of him with warmth in public. The summer of 2025 was supposed to be productive. Nicole was filming Practical Magic 2 in London, while Keith was traveling on his High and Alive world tour. Separately busy, separately thriving, or so it appeared. But behind the scenes, their marriage had already reached its quiet, devastating conclusion. Keith had rented his own home in Nashville and was showing no signs of reconciliation. Their last public appearance together was in June at a FIFA Club World Cup match in Nashville, where those who saw them noted a striking awkwardness, 2 people performing togetherness for the last time. Days later, he was gone. Nicole returned from London to a house that no longer felt like a home. No confrontation, no goodbye, just a quiet absence that said everything the words never did. Then came the revelation that turned heartbreak into humiliation. An insider told Fox News Digital that there were whispers of another woman, and TMZ reported that Urban may already be involved with someone else. A source close to Kidman said, "All the signs point to the fact Keith is with another woman." Let's just say, Nicole doesn't dispute that, but she's still shocked over it. Another source claimed the news of Urban's rumored new involvement was all over Nashville. Fans and media quickly began examining the clues that had been hiding in plain sight. People linked Urban to two women from his tour, instrumentalist Maggie Baugh, 25, and country singer Carly Scott Collins, 25, who also opened for his High on a live tour. The speculation intensified when a video surfaced of Urban performing The Fighter, the love song widely believed to have been inspired by his relationship with Kidman, on stage on September 26. In the clip, Urban appeared to swap the word baby for the name of his tour mate, singing, "When they're trying to get to you, Maggie, I'll be your guitar player." The 25-year-old musician posted the video to her Instagram with the caption, "Did Keith Urban just say that?" followed by shocked emojis. The internet gasped. For a man who had once credited Nicole with saving his life, publicly altering the lyrics of what was essentially their song felt like a statement, whether he intended it that way or not. Urban later told fans to stop reading into his suspected lyric changes, but the damage to perception was already done. On September 30th, 2025, Nicole Kidman filed for divorce from Keith Urban after 19 years of marriage. Both cited marital difficulties and irreconcilable differences in court documents filed in Nashville. A parenting plan was also filed, showing the pair had agreed on a custody schedule for their daughters, Sunday Rose and Faith Margaret. Neither sought child support from the other, and Nicole was named the primary residential parent. The custody arrangement allocated 306 days per year with Kidman and 59 days per year with Urban. Those who know Nicole will say the filing wasn't an act of anger. It was an act of survival. She had spent months hoping he would come back, hoping he would fight for what they'd built. He didn't. He had, sources confirmed, already signed his portion of the paperwork well before the public announcement. Nicole wanted to fight for them, but Keith had already checked out, and she knew why, one close source said. When the news broke, and cameras caught Keith walking off a plane in Pennsylvania without his wedding ring, heading to a concert as though nothing had happened, the contrast was impossible to ignore. One woman was navigating the most public heartbreak of her life. The other half of the marriage had already moved on. In the weeks that followed, Nicole did something deeply uncharacteristic for a woman of her stature. She went quiet. No statements, no carefully worded Instagram posts, no tearful magazine spreads. She appeared publicly at an AMFAR charity auction in Dallas just days after filing, showing up for causes greater than her own pain. She was seen in Nashville walking with her daughters and her sister Antonia, who had, sources said, become a rock through the ordeal, with the entire Kidman family rallying around her. Her silence was not weakness. It was choice. A choice to refuse to destroy the father of her children in public, even as those close to her quietly made clear just how one-sided the end of this marriage had been. It was not until March 2026, while promoting her Prime Video series Scarpetta, that Nicole finally spoke, briefly, and with characteristic grace. Speaking to Variety, she said, "Last year I was quiet. I had other things going on. I was in my shell. When asked if she was doing all right, she replied, I am, because I'm always going to be moving toward what's good. What I'm grateful for is my family, and keeping them as is and moving forward," she added. "That's that. Everything else I don't discuss out of respect. I'm staying in a place of we are a family, and that's what we'll continue to be. My beautiful girls, my darlings, who are suddenly women." It was the most controlled, the most dignified, and perhaps the most devastating thing she could have said. Not an accusation, not a performance, just a woman who had decided that her peace mattered more than her pain, and that her daughters mattered more than her image. Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban finalized their divorce on January 6, 2026, just 3 months after the split was announced. The agreement required both parents to behave with each other and each child so as to provide a loving, stable, consistent, and nurturing relationship, and stated that they will not speak badly of each other or the members of the family of the other parent. Nicole rang in 2026 in Australia with Sunday Rose and Faith Margaret, posting an Instagram story of the three of them with the caption, "Looking forward into 2026. Those who know her say that message wasn't just for the public. It was a promise she was making to herself. A source told people